Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson Football channel. In today's video, I'm going to be ranking 15, that is 3 hands worth of fingers, potential midfield partners for Enzo Fernandez next season. We're going to talk a little bit about existing midfielders that we've already got at the club, and then the 15 players that I've chosen. I posted a tweet last week and it got seen over 500,000 times, and a lot of you guys were getting involved, giving me players that you think would be good partners for Enzo Fernandez. It is being heavily rumoured that this summer Chelsea will be investing in a central midfielder. We do have Kane Chukwuemeka, Dennis Zakaria, Mateo Kovacic and N'Golo Kante already at the club, and it's looking as though Zakaria will not be staying. N'Golo Kante, injury problems. Kovacic could be sold. And Kane Chukwuemeka has been used sparingly so far this season. And I don't think he's going to be at a level yet where we can safely say he is going to be the midfield partner for Enzo. There's also Ruben Loftus-Cheek as well. But nearly half of these players are rumoured to be leaving Chelsea. And with N'Golo Kante, we are yet to see him play with Enzo. But I do think the importance of the player that we sign should probably be aiming towards a younger player, but at the same time, one that could develop into more of a defensive role. Because with Enzo Fernandez, what we've seen with Mateo Kovacic as his partner is he gets forward a bit more. He's a lot more creative. And I think Enzo Fernandez, the best version of Enzo that we'll see, will be one where the player that is playing alongside of him is happier to sit, is happier to anchor the Chelsea midfield, allowing Enzo more creative freedom, moving forward. So, Dennis Zakaria, I don't think will stay. I think Ruben might be sold. Kovacic might be sold. N'Golo Kante is the obvious one right now that we have at the club. There is also Mason Mount, but he's not really that kind of holding player. And I think at the moment, when Chelsea are talking about potentially losing Mount, as much as I don't want to see it happen, I'm not sure Mount is of the profile of the kind of midfielder that Chelsea need in what we're seeing currently from Graham Potter with what's working. 3-4-2-1, 3-4-3. It's hard to see where Mount fits into that one. So, the first of the 15 potential players, just so that you guys are aware, all of these players I think are solid potential Chelsea signings, but we've got to rank them somehow. So number 15 is Ibrahim Sangare, who plays for PSV in the Eredivisie. As you can see here, 36 appearances this season, can play in the middle or as a DM. He scored 7 goals and 3 assists so far this season and averages 3 tackles per game. Very, very good player. My only concern is the Eredivisie, the step up from there into the Premier League. Hakim Ziyech has not been that man, and it's difficult to compare these two players, Ziyech and Sangaré, because they're totally different calibre of footballers, playing in different positions. But someone's got to be near the bottom, and for me, Sangaré is number 15. Number 14, another option, is 21-year-old Sporting Lisbon midfielder Manuel Ugarte. Averages 4.1 tackles a game. We're not talking here about goals and assists. What we've seen with Enzo so far at Chelsea is the vertical passes between the lines, which is something that Chelsea have desperately needed ever since Cesc Fabregas. So what Chelsea need is a defensive sitting midfielder, and Ugarte's having a great season for Sporting Lisbon, getting a lot of plaudits, but once again, I'm not sure if he's ready to make that step up and is a player of the calibre that would benefit Chelsea moving forward. I think Kovacic is probably still a better player. Yes, he's only 21 years old, Manuel Ugarte, but I think Chelsea have currently got better midfielders at the club. Number 13 is Sofyan Amrabat of Fiorentina. Had a fantastic World Cup, and as you can see here, he can also fill in at centre-back, but Chelsea do not really need. Moving into number 12, I've gone with Martin Zubimendi, and I've put him quite down near the bottom. I've actually seen this guy play a couple of times this season. Decent footballer, but the problem is Chelsea have not been linked with him whatsoever, so I've tried to tailor this list. Some of these players I think are probably better than others in the positions that I've given them, but I've tried to make it, Chelsea have obviously been linked with certain players. We've seen the rumour mill going around, and player number 11 is Manu Kone, who plays for Borussia Mönchengladbach. Chelsea reportedly have been in talks with Koné and are one of the favourites to potentially sign him this summer. got himself a goal and an assist this season too, can also play slightly more advanced, 21 years of age. And I think Chelsea, being interested in this player, he would be around £25 million. So when Chelsea are looking at other positions that need to be strengthened this summer, the striking position, if Chelsea want to go out there and buy a proper number 9, a world-class number 9, Victor Osimhen's my number 1 guy, and he's going to cost in excess of €100 million. So someone like Koné, who can perfectly sit there in front of the defence, allowing Enzo to get forward, at 25 million, I think this could be one to keep an eye out for. Moving in to another player who's having a very good season at AC Milan, gets himself into the quarterfinals of the Champions League by beating none other than Tottenham Hotspur, is 25-year-old Ismaël Bennacer. Averages 2.6 tackles a game, and once again is an exciting player. Do I think AC Milan would be willing to sell? Probably not, and I do think he would be a bit more expensive than some of the other players on this list. Now, we're going to talk about Frankie De Young, a player who Chelsea were heavily linked with last summer. Barcelona were adamant that they weren't going to sell Frankie De Young. Manchester United were also interested. And I think with Frankie De Young, it's one of those where I would say that he might not have perhaps hit the heights that Barcelona would have wanted him to. I think since he's moved from Ajax, he probably hasn't progressed as well as a lot of people in the footballing world would expect. He can also play slightly more advanced as well. And I just think Frankie De Young would be far too expensive for Chelsea. I think he is one of the better players on this list of players that we're going through today. But I just think with Barcelona's financial situation at the moment, the fee that they would be looking for would still be a little bit too high. And again, we've got to, when we look at these potential players that could sign to partner Enzo Fernandez at Chelsea, we've also got to take into consideration price and other positions that Chelsea need to strengthen in. The next player on this list as we move into the higher realms of the top 10, Edson Alvarez of Ajax, 25 years old, 3 goals, 2 assists this season, can also play as a centre-back as well. 2.5 tackles a game. Chelsea were linked with Edson Alvarez last summer. Chelsea wanted to spend 40 million. He ended up staying at Ajax. Decent player, but again, I think there are better players that we can go for, such as number 7, Bruno Guimaraes of Newcastle. Now, Bruno Guimaraes, it is rumoured Chelsea are interested to buy this player, but at the same time, Bruno has also come out and said recently that he wants to be a big part of writing this new chapter of history at Newcastle. What I love about Bruno, and what I think would be the perfect partner for Enzo, is that Bruno can also do similar things to what Enzo does. Bruno Guimaraes likes to get forward. He's come up with 4 goals, 3 assists this season. 25 years old as well, coming into the prime years of his career. And what I like about Bruno is the fact that he's already done it in the Premier League. So when we're looking at some of these players on this list, as much as some of them may be very talented midfielders, we've got to bear in mind that once again, that transition into Premier League football means that you're never sure of the quality that you're going to receive. Another player in the Premier League who's relatively high here, 21-year-old Everton midfielder Amadou Onana. 1 goal, 1 assist this season. What I like about Onana is that he reminds me a little bit of Nemanja Matic. He's no nonsense, lunges into tackles, brilliant from a standing tackle too, and can play anywhere across the midfield. And with Everton, I don't think they're going to get relegated anymore. I think what Sean Dyche has done coming in means they're probably going to be safe. But I just think a player of Onana's quality will probably be looking for an upgrade in his career. And I think if Chelsea were to come knocking, he'd be interested in the move. Moving in to the top 5 of this video. I was going to do this as a tier list, but I thought instead of doing that, I'm just going to rank them because it's a little bit more difficult to do, because a lot of these players would be great signings for Chelsea. Moises Caicedo, a man who's just signed a new contract at Brighton, but as it's been reported, that new contract he's signed is simply what he deserves, and it's not necessarily going to stop clubs like Chelsea coming in. Arsenal were the closest in the January transfer window. He's only 21 years old, and I think once more here, with the last 3 players we've spoken about, all Premier League proven players. And I think the ceiling of Moises Caicedo and the profile of player, likes to sit, also roams around as well. I wouldn't say necessarily it's the perfect fit if we're saying that the person who plays alongside Enzo Fernandez needs to be more of a traditional number 6. I think with Enzo, there is so much more creative expression that we can see in more advanced areas on the field. As much as he can do that 6 role so good, I think with Caicedo, he's a bit too similar in the way that he does like to roam around the midfield. And I think Chelsea and what Graham Potter will be looking for is someone a bit more along the realms of Joshua Kimmich, who loves to just sit there in front of the defence. Can also play as a right back too, but Chelsea have obviously got Manuel Ugarte come in. Joshua Kimmich, in my opinion, would be the perfect player to come in. He's 28 years old, which I think Chelsea will probably go for someone a bit younger, and I don't think Bayern Munich would be looking to sell him to Chelsea. 4 goals, 8 assists this season is a brilliant tally for a player who predominantly plays in front of the back line. Of course, with that Dortmund team, that Bayern Munich team, there's a lot of goals in there. So it's easy for Kimmich to have these kind of stats when he's playing for that kind of side. But I don't think Bayern Munich would be willing to sell. I think Kimmich is a phenomenal player, and that's why he's quite high up on this list, because if I'm being realistic, he'd be the man that I would want. But number 3 might surprise some of you, but for a lot of you that have watched the Premier League this season, Joao Palhinha of Fulham is a phenomenal player. 27 years old, was absolutely fantastic when Fulham came to Stamford Bridge, and when we played them and lost in the reverse fixture just a couple of months ago. He's got 4 goals this season too. And again, what I like about Palhinha is he seems to play a lot like Nemanja Matic again. And that is the kind of personnel that I think is the perfect combo to put alongside Enzo Fernandez. So, Joao Palhinha, let me know in the comments down below. Player number 2, which probably means you already know who number 1 is, Romeo Lavia. 19 years of age, playing for Southampton right now, scored a goal and got an assist this season. I think Lavia is the perfect partner for Enzo. And I would say Declan Rice is number 1. These two, in my opinion, are both realistic. Chelsea are heavily linked with both players, so that's why they're near the upper ends of this ranking video. With Lavia, at 19 years old, we are talking about a player who for the next 10 years can be absolutely at the top of his game in the Premier League. My number 1 concern with Lavia is his age. And do we need to buy someone to partner Enzo Fernandez who's just got a little bit more experience? So, number 1 is Declan Rice. We've been talking about Declan Rice to Chelsea since the birth of this YouTube channel. He's 24 years old, scored 2, assisted 4 this season, averages 2.2 tackles a game. This is the time that West Ham are going to sell Declan Rice. It looks as though they're looking at relegation potentially this season. If Declan Rice gets relegated with West Ham, there's absolutely no way they keep him. I do not think there's any way West Ham keep him regardless. Arsenal and Chelsea are the 2 clubs most interested. Both Manchester clubs are also keen, but it's just that story, isn't it? Declan Rice back to Chelsea. I want to see it happen. He's one of those players, once again, where if people don't want to see him at Chelsea, I want to know why. If you don't want Declan Rice, let me know in the comments down below. And he is my number 1. These are 15 players, really, really solid defensive midfielders that Chelsea could sign this summer. Let me know your order in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching this video. Come on, you Blues.